Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. Manchester United 0, West Ham 1. United are out of the Carabao Cup after an odd performance. I do kind of hesitate to say a terrible performance because I don't think many terrible performances have 27 shots from Man United. Yeah, but it wasn't a great one, was it, Joe?
6 on target, so we were just sort of shooting for the up of it. First half, very much West Ham dominant. First half was very much sort of neck and neck, and it was quite a nice game to watch. Second half really came into our own for United because obviously we brought some players on. Certain games, the game changed completely when Greenwood came on. Yep. Breath of fresh air, energy. He sort of knew to make the runs in. He cut the defence up quite a lot. Donny van der Beek even find him with a brilliant pass, but couldn't find that back of the net. Even Bruno come on, you could see though, couldn't you, the class that these players brought. So we say we were playing our second team, and that was right, because when you brought on our first team, you saw the difference in quality. Yeah. And I just think it was too little too late. West Ham knew what they were doing, and they were able to control our attacking players, and it was 1-0 to them.
What do you reckon, Freddie? To just the game in general.
I'll be honest with you, the only positive that we can take from this is that it's the Carabao Cup, and of all the competitions, this is the one that we all care about the least.
Yeah.
In terms of the actual game, we looked at the squad tonight. It is a highly changed first team, and there was a lot of players tonight who a good performance was necessary if they wanted to be knocking on the door of first team football. You look at your likes of Tellez, Bailly, Lindelof, Dalot, maybe not Matic, but definitely Van der Beek, Lingard, Mata, Sancho and Martial. All of those players needed a good game to really cement their chances of starting. Tell me which one had a good game. None of them did.
I think there were certain players that maybe didn't have terrible games. I don't think Lindelof looked particularly bad, but he's in such a position where you've got one of the best players in the world ahead of you.
Well, this is it. So if you're going to displace, if you're Lindelof and you're going to displace Varane or Maguire, two of the best centre-backs in the world, then you have to be aiming higher than not terrible. Yeah. And if you want to play for Manchester United, the bar is above not terrible. Yeah. Everyone's talking about Donny van der Beek and, can't wait to see him start. I thought he was poor today, quite frankly. And look, I'm not blaming him because I know it must be really difficult for him and he's not had the game time and he needs a regular run in this side in order to get his, form up. But if you look, he was partially at fault for the goal. He misplaced passes. I mean, look, he wasn't the worst out there today.
He wasn't terrible by any means, was he?
He wasn't the worst out there because Martial set the bar at fucking limbo status. Yeah. But if you're Donny van der Beek, your biggest competition in this team for places is Pogba and Bruno. They're two of our best players. Yeah. So you need to be dominating a game against Mark Noble and some fucker from Sideshow Bob looking fucker from Czechoslovakia that nobody's heard of. You need to be dominating, and he just didn't.
Yeah, I think this goes. Sorry, Joe.
No, just moving on a little bit to Martial. Mark mentioned him there, Freddie. On Twitter, in the comments, he's in for a lot of stick again after such a poor season last season.
Yeah.
Did you expect more from him this year? Because he kind of needs to start showing that he's not a faded player, doesn't he? He needs to bounce back at some point, and we're just not seeing it.
If you say it like this, at the start of watch along, we said it was 50 million quid for Martial. Will we take it? And as the watch along went on, and as the game went on, and as the chances went on, and as the determination was just not there, or the quality wasn't there, by the end of the game, I'd fucking take 30 million. Do you know what I mean? It's like who's going to pay that money for someone? Yeah. What has he shown? What evidence has he shown that he's got guts or he's got the skill to be a £50 million player? I wanted him to be good. Like, I'm not here buzzing that Martial didn't prove us wrong. Yeah. I actually wanted him to shine today. I wanted Van der Beek to do much better than he did. I wanted players to give Ollie a big headache to show, look, we've got quality in depth, because that's what other teams have. City have got depth. Chelsea have got depth. Liverpool not so much, but these are the title contenders. Yep. And if we've got a real depth of squad, which we've shown, our second team, not good enough.
No. Speaking of Chelsea, by the way, they've just snuck through on penalties against Aston Villa.
Just by the
skin of the teeth. It's not as though
depth for you.
Yeah, but it's not as though they've dominated that game. But obviously, they didn't lose, and that's all that matters.
Here's the thing, though, right? Is we talk about Martial and we talk about what a poor game he's had. This isn't the worst game I've seen Martial have this season.
Yeah,
he was worse against Southampton.
Yeah.
So I mean, what does that tell you about where he's at as a player? He's done. He's done. There's no coming back from this now. He must be, at best, our 5th choice striker. At best. Behind Ronaldo, Cavani, Greenwood and Rashford.
Yeah.
He's our 5th choice striker now.
Yeah. And Rashford isn't even a striker, but you'd play him there ahead of Martial at the moment.
You'd have to have him ahead of Martial at the moment. Mate, I'd have Amad Diallo ahead of Martial as a false 9. Because he played against Wolves at the end of last season, looked really good. Yeah. So you could argue he's maybe our 6th choice.
It's really tough for Martial at the minute, isn't it? And it's one of... And I don't know, because there's part of me that always feels bad really laying into a player. But other than sort of Sanchez from his peak at Arsenal to what we got, 12 months later at United, it's one of the biggest drop-offs I've seen almost sort of overnight from a player since I've been watching football. The heights he hit in that 23-goal season in the 1920 season, and then from the start of last year till now, just being this sort of anonymous, faded, looking lacking confidence kind of player.
Well, we were laughing, weren't we? We were laughing, weren't we? That he seems to get worse the more competition he has.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So the minute that you bring in another striker, it's like his head goes down.
Yeah, maybe it is that.
Yeah, and if he's not the star man, he doesn't perform like a star man.
But I'm not being funny, but if you're going to play for Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, you've got to be built on more than that. Look, I mean, I've had a go at Lingard in the past, but one thing I will say about Jesse Lingard is that his confidence levels and his mental fortitude is massive, because you don't go and make that kind of mistake against young boys where you hand them the game and then 4 days later you go and win the game against West Ham. That takes the sort of mental toughness that you need to play football at the highest level. Whereas if you're looking and going, oh, well, Ronaldo's good and Cavani's good, and you don't, this isn't the game for you. Go and fucking... Do you know what I mean? Go and play for Arsenal or something like that.
Some things did go our way, though. They're looking at Noble here. They speak to Noble in the post-match, and, there is a penalty shout in the early game.
I wanted to get to that, because that is a penalty, isn't it?
Oh, it's a penalty.
Yeah, but
and he also should be off Noble, because then that would have been a yellow, and he also gets himself another yellow card.
No, because he wouldn't make that challenge if he was already on a yellow. But if we're going to play this game about what should or shouldn't have been a fucking penalty or a red card or whatever, then we can talk about Nemanja Matic literally fucking kneeing Kufal in the ball so hard that it means he can't have any fucking
man
kids.
Of the match. He's giving Noble man of the match.
But look, at the end of the day, people are going to make excuses for this performance. They're going to say things like, look, it's United's second string team. That was West Ham's second string team. Do you know what I mean?
Declan Rice on the bench.
Yeah, a lot of their players.
No Rice, no Souček.
No Antonio.
Do you know what I mean? No Antonio.
Three big players.
No Fornals. Do you know what I mean?
David Moyes, no Zuma either.
And do you know what? There's so many players that really need to have a look at their Old Trafford future here.
The sort of highlighted in a replay of the goal, which obviously West Ham is the only goal of the game. They're highlighting Van der Beek, and whatever you think of him, you'll see that he doesn't mark his man tightly enough and leaves them hanging. And there is a lot of our players really in the 6-yard box that don't need to be there, leaving the goal scorer hanging for the goal.
So talking about the goal,
also as well, just to sort of, I'm not just having it that it was Van der Beek's fault. He was at fault, but also Tellez got absolutely done up.
Yeah. He gets skinned there, doesn't he? Just the goes past him too easy. A lot of players there are just guilty of ball watching. They get dragged to the man instead of watching the players that the man might pass to. We've got a couple of super chats. Ivan Constantino says, criminal taking Lingard off instead of Martial when Lingard was our most dangerous player while he was on. And Bath Lasson says, we were too narrow and didn't use the width of the pitch to stretch them. Martial Sancho needed to hug the touchline for someone too central and static.
We suffer when we have Martial up front because we don't have a focal point in attack. And also as well, I mean, I think that it's very early to judge Sancho's career, and we should be very careful of making judgments. But I don't think he played particularly well today. Lingard,
he had moments, though. He had more moments than Lingard or Martial.
He had moments, but again, at 73 million quid, I've paid for more than moments. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he's going to take a little bit to get into the team, isn't he?
Totally, but he didn't. He
didn't have a great game.
I'm not just going to slag off the old, the old culprits, because it's easy. It's so easy to sit here and to say Martial's shit, Matic is past it. Do you know what I mean? Tellez isn't very good. Tick, tick, tick. But let's also shine a light on the players that it's a bit harder to criticise. Donny van der Beek had a really bad game. Jadon Sancho, even though it's early days for him, didn't do enough this game. Do you know what I mean? And we got to be honest about that.
When you look at the stats there, 27 shots, 6 on target, 61% possession. Do you think that, I know obviously the goals haven't gone in, and that one, we can boil it down to that if we want to, but looking sort of outside of that for a second, do you think it maybe wasn't as bad a performance as we're sat here thinking because we've lost? Do you think there's a world where with the same amounts of shots, the same shots even, we could have won that game and you'd be sat here going, that wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad? Or do you think it was, those stats are flattering us? Because you see the stats here, they're the stats of a team that have dominated a game, not one that's been shit all game. Obviously, we've lost it still, but do you understand what I'm saying?
If we win tonight 1-0 and we're doing a different conversation and we see the exact same performance, West Ham don't score that goal when we scored one, I do think you'll be sat here quite pleased with it. So what we're saying is then that we're upset about us not being clinical. We're upset about us not taking chances, all certain decisions not going our way. But you've also got to remember that West Ham had an incredible amount of chances as well. Although that was because we were pushing up looking for the equaliser. So that would have changed in those circumstances that I've just created then. But I think that we are just upset that certain players didn't really give their all tonight. And the best chance of the game came from when our quality players came on the pitch. And that was obviously because we were 1-0 down and we needed it. I don't think we would be too happy with what we've just seen.
But if you think, though, the Martial chance where he's got to use his left foot, that's a good. He's on the 6-yard line there. That's a good chance. Mata hit the crossbar. Admittedly, it wasn't a great chance, but he's almost scored there. You can't say that someone who's at the crossbar hasn't almost scored.
Hang about. We didn't dominate this game. We didn't do enough to win this game. Because if you look at the Mata chance, he hits the crossbar. It's a great piece of play, but it's hardly like a gilt-edged chance. Yeah. We had one proper chance, and that was the Mason Greenwood one. Generally speaking,
the Martial one was a proper chance.
Nah, man,
I don't know if
on his left foot on the corner of the 6-yard box.
How is that not a chance? He couldn't even get it on target.
The chance is the shot he's taking, not the actual shot he has.
It goes back. Look, you look at stats like this, and at the end of the day, I genuinely believe that if you torture your facts for long enough, you can get them to confess to anything.
But we don't have to torture them much to see we've had 3 times more shots than them.
But it doesn't matter, because if you have a shot from 2 yards away, or if you have a shot from 40 yards away, both counts as one shot. At the end of the day, there's only one statistic that matters, and that's the scoreline.
Yeah, of course.
And let's be fair, because we were pushing people up for hell for leather, at the end of the game, every chance went to West Ham, and you can say, yes, well, that's because we were pushing people up. But also, we were pushing people up to try and make more chances, and we didn't. No. Look, I mean, I'm not upset because we've lost, because at the end of the day, it's the Carabao Cup. It's the competition that I care the least about, and United's season shouldn't and will never be defined by how well we do in the Carabao Pissing Cup. What I am upset about is there are a lot of players who, for tonight, needed to put in a good performance.
Yes, and they didn't.
And none of them did. Yeah. None of them.
I agree with that. Reagan Pinto says, today's team didn't have goals in it. Bruno won't bail Ole out every time. Martial needs to go. Isn't Sancho a right winger? Then we've got Sahar Shetty saying the only conclusion here is that it was a good performance but lacked the sharpness because of the lack of game time for a lot of them. Forget it and move on. Surav says, seriously not bothered about the result. Bench has 4 or 5 good players. Donny was good. How Noble's foul on Lingard isn't a penalty is beyond me. Crazy, I agree with that. Just back to that one point, so we can hopefully end on a slightly higher note here, because I think we've been dragged down into being upset about the result, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Forget it and move on? Do you think that has to be the lasting sort of legacy of this game?
You can't look at this Carabao Cup and worry. It's just, if City go all the way and win it again, then it's a joke, innit? So why worry? I think Ollie might say that. Ollie might get to a semi-final and get knocked out at City. So it could just be a waste of time. I think one of the things that I'd be upset about it is good game time to bring players in and give players a chance to prove themselves.
People like Alanga, maybe.
Yeah, but then when they don't prove themselves, you do wonder, what the fuck was that all about?
Yeah. What do you reckon, Freddie?
Here's what I am positive about. I'm positive about the fact that it was the Carabao Cup and I don't care about this competition. I'm also positive about the fact that we're joint top of the Premier League. We have gone the longest unbeaten away run of any
ever
top flight ever.
Yeah.
There's things to be positive about. Mason Greenwood continues to be in very impressive form. You know what I mean? We have a squad that doesn't have many injuries. There's fresh. There's lots of options and stuff. Rafael Varane's looking better every time I see him. Cristiano Ronaldo is absolutely firing. There's loads of positive. This is one of those games where you draw a line under it and you have to just move on from it and just take what you can out of it. Do you know what I mean? I think this is the last game we're going to see Martial playing for a long time, though.
Certainly started. To be honest, I think if Cavani was fit, I don't think he would have started.
I'm upset that we're not in the draw. You know, we can see the draw now. I like. You
don't want to lose any games, do you?
I like the, what's it called? You know, the anticipation of who you might.
Yeah. No, but the thing is as we were mentioning before this, United's season is not defined on this game. Look, if United won the Carabao Cup and nothing else,
and
finished fifth, you'd say Ole out.
Yeah.
If United won the Carabao Cup, finished fourth, didn't come close to challenging for anything else, you'd say Ole out. It's a piece of silverware.
I mean, I wouldn't say that, but
the majority would.
That, yeah.
It's a piece of silverware,
but
it's the one that people care about the least. I don't care about the Carabao Cup.
No. Alpha Omega says 100% agree with the luscious man in the middle. That's you, Joe. Well done.
What did I say?
I don't remember that. Reagan Pinto says, if Ronaldo gets injured, do you think Martial can carry this team? Greenwood is good, but can't rely on a youngster. Let's not forget Edinson Cavani exists. Yeah. And also Mason Greenwood can play up front.
Could not carry this team.
You know,
at the moment, there isn't even a comparison between Mason Greenwood and Anthony Martial. There's not even a comparison.
Boots, as they say.
Anthony Dunn says, Pep wins this every year. It's a trophy, 1 of 4. He does win it every year, but it is still, the least interesting trophy of the lot, but you still want to win it. No one's sat here saying, isn't it great that we lost tonight? No one's saying
it's
that.
Like saying, Community Shield's a trophy, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's better than that.
Yeah, but it's better than Community Shield, but it's the next one up.
Yeah. Darren Cox, a few players' futures in question now. Now there's less games to play and too many players to give minutes on the pitch. Focus on the league now. That is a point, isn't it? If you think of it from the perspective of those players that played tonight, they may well have just played themselves out of 3 or 4 more games this season. That's unfortunate for them, but it is their fault.
It's their fault. I mean, how can Anthony Martial knock on Solskjaer's door in a month's time and say, I want more game time?
Yeah.
You go, well, the last time you played, you were fucking shit. And the time before that, you were shite as well. And you haven't played well in 2 seasons, mate. Yeah. So
It's tough, isn't it? Yeah. So hard, Shetty, a wild thought. What about a swap for Werner for Martial? I mean, I'd give it a go, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Right, that's going to be all from us. United have lost 1-0. Thank you very much for joining me, Freddie. Where can people find you?
Check out my podcast, Picketed Podcast. You can find it on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and youtube.com/Picketed. There should be a link in the comments or the description. It is comedians and experts talking bollocks. It's loads of fun.
Joe, what about you?
Go on, search Joe McGrath. Me and you did a magazine show where I just get a magazine and we chat about, like, one of those kind of like magazines you get in the doctor's, like, where he's like, someone did something with a goat. Anyway, go and watch that. Me and Joe Smith did the one, and it is funny.
Anthony Dunn, before we go, says this would have been a trophy for a manager that's won none. It would be an improvement. It absolutely would. No one's doubting that. Absolutely would be an improvement over winning nothing. But, here's the situation we're in. Manchester United have lost 1-0 in the Carabao Cup to West Ham. Unfortunately, that's the end of the run, but we'll be back at the weekend with Aston Villa in the Premier League at Old Trafford. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you in a bit.